Right now you're looking at cinematic footage from the DJI O3 Air Unit. And I wouldn't blame you if you were thinking, what's the freaking point? We've all seen great cinematic footage come from the O3 Air Unit. The color is great, the resolution is great, the image detail, range, penetration, everything about the O3 is amazing. But what makes this footage so special is not the O3 Air Unit, but the quadcopter that is carrying it. Because the quadcopter that's carrying it, it's not a 7-inch cruiser, it's not a 5-inch freestyle drone, it's not even a 3-inch Cinewhoop. It is a 85mm 2-inch Cinewhoop flying on a 750 milliamp hour 2S battery. This is one of the smallest and lightest quadcopters that you can buy right now with the DJI O3 Air Unit on board. But there are two things that make this quadcopter really stand out from other quadcopters in the same size and weight class. And one of them is, well, just how freaking good it flies. Like, you're looking at the footage. I'm amazed at how smooth this video is. I'm amazed at how long this quadcopter flies on a little 750 milliamp hour 2S battery. I'm just amazed at this package. But in addition to that, I'm amazed at something the manufacturer does to shave some weight off from the DJI O3 Air Unit that I haven't seen anybody else doing. I'm Joshua Bardwell. You're going to learn something today. The quadcopter that we're looking at today is the Flywoo FlyLens85, and it is an 85mm wheelbase, 2-inch propeller quadcopter with a DJI O3 Air Unit on board. And you're probably thinking, Bardwell, we've seen this formula before. In fact, right here on the bench next to me, I've got the Happy Model Mobula 8 HD. Similar formula, 85mm wheelbase, 2-inch props, O3 on board. There are some differences about this one, and we're not actually here to deep dive into it. In fact, I did a review of it a couple months ago, and I'll put a link in the video description below. I highly recommend you check that video out after you finish this one, because, well, if you're shopping in this category, you should decide for yourself which one of these is going to make you the happiest. But for now, let's keep talking about what makes this little guy unique. And one of the things I like best about the FlyLens85 is how they've done the frame. You see, the Mobula 8 has an all plastic frame, and that does mean that it saves about 10 grams compared to the FlyLens85, although the FlyLens85 has a trick up its sleeve that's going to mitigate some of that difference that I'm saving for later in the video. So we've got the all plastic frame here, and that means it's a little bit squishy and a little bit wiggly, and well, it's not the best. The FlyLens85 has a carbon fiber plate frame with a rigid plastic set of prop guards. And I think overall this gives a more durable and more consistent flight experience. When these guys crash, they're going to have a little bit of give, but unlike the Mobula 8, they're not going to get bent out of shape, rub against the props, have to be bent back, and so on. On the other hand, I suppose eventually these guys probably will crack after enough crashes. I guess the Mobula cracks too, though, if you hit it hard enough and enough times. It's hard to say who's ahead on this one, but just the rigid feel of this guy compared to the sort of squishy feel of the Mobula gives me a warm fuzzy. I'm also really pleased with how Flywoo have distributed the weight on the FlyLens85. They're doing a really good job of trying to keep the weight centered around the prop line. We can see we've got the weight of the O3 down here, we've got the camera up here, we've got the battery up here, and when that weight is centralized around the prop line, the quadcopter will have better handling. I haven't taken this guy out. I'm intentionally recording this section before I do a bunch of flight testing, because I just kind of want to get my thoughts out of the way and then find out how it flies. But we're going to push this thing hard and see how it acros, as well as just how it flies cinematically. I suspect it's going to do better than some other entries in this class. Well, we'll have to see. The flight controller is a Flywoo all-in-one. That's a little difficult for me to get it on camera because it's tucked into the frame, but that does mean it is a flight controller and ESC all-in-one. For these little 2-inch builds, I think that's fine. For larger builds, I like the ESC to be separate from the flight controller. Number one, because that can mean it can be made more durable, and number two, because if you damage the ESC, then you only have to replace the ESC. You don't have to replace the whole expensive flight controller. But on these little 2-inch builds, the ESCs don't take that much abuse, and I think it's a fair trade-off to save weight and space to use an all-in-one. There is no separate receiver on this build. I'm trying to get a shot of the antenna, but I'm not sure if I am. The receiver is Express LRS, and it is built into the flight controller. There are other options you can buy if you go to the Flywoo webpage, but Express LRS is probably what most people shopping are going to be picking. Flywoo have made an interesting choice in their selection of motors. These are 1003 sized motors. And that's interesting because if we look at, for example, the Mobula 8, it uses 1103 motors. Those are bigger motors. And bigger motors generate more torque and generally give more handling, better heat dissipation, and so on. There's a rule of thumb with motors, which is that you want motors that are big enough to spin the prop with authority, but no bigger. So the question is, are the 1003 motors on the Flywoo big enough and the 1103 motors on the Happy model bigger than they needed to be? Or are the 1003 motors on the Flywoo not big enough? And ultimately, when we fly it and we see how the flight time and the handling is, we'll know the answer to that. The flight time, at least on my very first flight, was pretty freaking good. So, I don't know. Remains to be seen. The other reason that the motor's sizing is interesting is that usually you have bigger motors on heavier builds. But if we look at the Flywoo, we see the Flywoo comes in at 91 grams dry, whereas the Happy model comes in at 82 grams dry. So the Happy model is lighter and has larger motors. That should mean it handles way better. But I don't remember the Happy model handling all that good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like great. Like most companies making a micro quadcopter with an O3 on board, the Flywoo uses these little wire whip antennas. And normally I would say that those linear whip antennas are going to give you worse performance because they're being paired with circular polarized antennas on the goggles. But in this case, that's not true. The DJI O3 Air Unit will be used with the DJI Goggles 2, the DJI Goggles Integra, or someday, perhaps, the DJI Goggles 3 if DJI finally unlocks that ability in the firmware. And the nice thing about all those goggles is they all have linear antennas. Why? I don't know. That's just what DJI decided to do, even though it bucks the trend of how FPV goggles have worked pretty much forever. But the good news is that when we take these linear antennas and we pair them with those goggles, we actually don't get a reduction in performance. Well, we probably get some reduction in performance because this is just like a little piece of wire. I guess there's no reason that can't be a good, well-tuned antenna, but in my heart, it feels like an antenna with a PCB and a plastic cover and stuff should be better. I guess that's not necessarily true. We might not even see any reduction in range when using these antennas. And the good news is the DJI O3 Air Unit has pretty exceptional range and penetration just because of magic, I assume, that DJI puts into every one of them. So even if it did have some reduction, you're probably going to get pretty usable range out of it. Well, okay, I'm not going to make you wait any longer. This right here, this is the trick that Flywoo has that helps make up some of the weight difference that I think makes the Flywoo FlyLens85 completely unique in the world of micro quadcopters with O3 Air units on board. Because Flywoo is the only company I know of that will make a naked, Flywoo, make a naked O3 Air unit for you. What's that mean? It means that they have taken all of the heat sinks and metal protection off of the O3 Air unit and given you 2 naked circuit boards. Do you like to live dangerously? Would you like a naked O3? Yep, and not only that, but they have decased the gosh dang camera. Yes, that is just a naked circuit board and a sensor with a plastic holder and a lens in front. And what does this do to the weight? As a reminder, the standard one weighs 91 grams. The naked one comes in at 79 grams. That's an enormous amount of weight saved. Okay, I'm glad to have seen this because the one that I flew that I was so impressed with was the naked one. And then when I started comparing this one to the Happy model, I was like, wait, it's heavier and I don't understand why it flew so good. I remember this one not flying that good. How could this one be 10 grams heavier and fly so much better? And then now I see. This thing is 80 grams compared to, it's about the same. How is it about the same? It's like 3 grams lighter. How is it about the same as the Happy model, but the Happy model? If somebody made a naked Happy model, it would be even lighter still. Anyway, doesn't exist as far as I know, so never mind. This is the part of the review where I might normally start talking about the video transmitter that's in the system, but the video transmitter here is the DJI O3 Air Unit, and in a lot of ways that's a known quantity. If this is your first quadcopter that you're considering buying and you just don't know about the performance of the O3 Air Unit, we're going to show you how it performs and what it's capable of. But there's a lot of content out there. In fact, I've got a video when it first came out where I just reviewed the DJI O3 Air Unit. And I guess I'll put a link to that in the video description below if you're new here. But what I'm most interested in is how this damn thing flies. So I'm going to go ahead and get it configured in Betaflight, get it bound to my controller and everything. I actually have a full setup video that I made while I was setting this up. And if you want to watch that, I'll link that in the video description as well. But we'll skip past all that stuff for those of you who already know how to do it. And we will get straight to the flying. Let's get this thing in the air because this naked air unit overheats in literally 45 seconds if you don't spin the props. You have to go. And the first thing I want to do is just try and, you know, fly fast and a little aggressive and see how this thing handles it. There's no stabilization here. You're just seeing what there is coming out of the quad. And I've increased the up tilt just a little bit to try and push a little more speed. This is not like a racing whoop per se, but I just want to see how it handles. And honestly, wow, it handles pretty good. I mean, like no prop wash there. None at all. Maybe a tiny bit, I don't know. But like, usually those big drops like that over the house are where quads this size really struggle. They will, no, nothing. Just smooth as heck. So impressed. This thing is not designed as a racing drone, but geez, like I feel like you could race it if you really wanted to. If you wanted to, like, if you wanted to lose to 65mm drones, you could race this. It goes, and the handling is very nice. Wow, really impressed with how smooth the power comes on there. No prop wash or shaking. Little prop wash sound there. Just that trilling, that brrr sound there. That's the prop wash, but it just means this thing has been tuned exceptionally well. We're getting very fast, high frequency prop wash on very aggressive moves. But overall, the flight characteristics are excellent. Oh, a little crunk there on the air unit, but okay. Like, I don't want to crash this thing on purpose because I'm sure that the O3 Air Unit, the naked air unit, is less durable than like it would be if it had its metal plates on. I mean, I am going to crash it eventually, but for now, I'm just going to have fun. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Battery life is really good too. We're over 3 minutes. Still plenty of battery life. Just having a great time. There we go. That was the first time I saw the battery start to drop below 3.5. As always, I love the range and penetration of the air unit. Like, I'm just standing here, not even in the optimal place. Oh, oh. Oh, there's no way I'm getting out of this. No, these little props cannot do it. That's it. This is the Drone Saver, thedronesaver.com. And it's going to save us from losing our drone. We see a practical effect of the LED strip, which is that it makes it easier to find your quad when you crash into a tree. Oh, okay, that broke. Oh, this whole branch is dead. Oh my God. Okay. Doink. Drone saver to the rescue. All right. Now let's see how long it takes for the one with the full air unit to overheat. Like with the extra metal on it, it should take longer. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. It was 45 seconds. Remember, 45 seconds is the bar to beat. Oh, there we go. 1 minute, 22 seconds. A bit longer. Not that much longer, but a bit longer. Can we head it off by arming and spinning the props? Can we save it? With the naked air unit, we could not save it by arming and spinning the props. It would just overheat. We're still recording. I think we can kind of hold it off. It's not overheating and shutting down. And I really want to know how the extra weight of the full air unit affects how this quad flies. Like, is everything I've been so impressed with just because it's extra lightweight? Only one way to find out. Oh, yes. I feel like I absolutely am higher in the throttle, and it feels more sluggish in the turns. Oh yeah, slide. Oh, it's a lot different. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Ooh, oh no, that's a bad smell. Oh no, I fried it. What in the fuck? Oh, bad smell, bad smell. Oh well, it makes for a shorter review. Bad smell. It's the smell of a smoked ESC. The ESC fried. It's completely fried. It blew a fet. And I'm going to own this one. That's on me. I know better than to crash in the tall grass with one of these tiny little quads and then try and fly out of it. I know that you can't do that with these little guys because props get bound up and the ESC can't take it. Some people are going to be watching this and go, it shouldn't have fried, right? And they're going to take that as a commentary on the durability of this flight controller. And I'm not going to tell you not to think that. You can make that decision for yourself. But personally, the story I'm telling myself is that I screwed up. I should have just walked and gotten it, but I was a lazy SOB and I killed it. So don't do that. Unfortunately, that means we don't get to fly the full weight one anymore. But fortunately, that means I can just go back to flying the one that I like better anyway. Yeah, in the short period of time I was flying it, I definitely noticed that extra weight and didn't like it nearly as much. It's shocking what a difference that amount of weight, it's not that many grams, it makes on something this small. If you get this one, I say get the naked one. Unless you're going to be doing just the most gentle, cinematic, smooth flying, in which case maybe it doesn't matter and you'll increase your durability. But the naked one is the one for me just because of how it flies so freaking good. But like, you have to give up a compromise in terms of the durability, right? It overheats way faster and it's gonna break easier. Like, it just has to. Like, look at the camera. Come on. Tell me that's not gonna break easier than this, right? Surely. There's a little quirk. While I was offloading the footage from this guy, I found a little quirk that you should know about, and that is that the USB port for the O3 Air Unit is blocked by this piece of plastic. You can't, I don't know how you're supposed to plug USB into that thing. I couldn't get it to go at all, and no, the plastic doesn't easily bend out of the way. I was worried I was going to break the USB port on the O3 just trying to get it in there. What I ended up doing was taking a hot soldering iron and melting away a small amount of plastic here, and then just getting like a little X-Acto knife and shaving away the melted bits to make it look neat. Seems like a real oversight on Flywoo's part. At the beginning of this video, I said that the FlyLens85 was my sort of default recommendation when people ask me for the smallest, lightest quadcopter that carries the DJI O3 Air Unit. And I said that without really ever having flown it, admittedly so, just because of the naked air unit that was on it. I thought that was pretty innovative, and I thought it probably gave it an edge over anything else in this size class. Having flown it now, I think I was right the whole time. I freaking love how this flies. I've flown other quadcopters in this size, like the Mobula 8 HD with the O3 Air Unit on it. I don't know what's going on here. It's very close to the same weight as this. It has bigger motors, and somehow it flies worse. Like, significantly worse. and the BETAFPV PAVO PICO, which flies okay, but still not as good as this and is way less durable. I'm so freaking impressed with this quadcopter. If you're interested in picking up a FlyLens85, there are links in the video description below to where you can buy one. And it means a lot to me when you click those links because they're affiliate links. What that means is when you click one of those links, you go to the store and then you make any purchase. You don't have to buy this quadcopter. You can buy anything at the affiliated stores. As long as you click that link first, I get a little commission. And it's a small commission, but you spend a lot of money on FPV. Don't worry, I won't tell your spouse. I know you spend a lot of money on FPV, and that commission does add up if you make sure that you go find one of my affiliate links or even bookmark one of my affiliate links and use it before you do any of your FPV shopping. It really means a lot. I love this freaking thing. I'm keeping this thing until I kill the O3 on it, and then I'm going to cry. But I freaking love it. I'm going to keep it. It is so much fun to fly. However, don't take my word for it. Go watch my review of the Happy Model Mobile 8 HD and the BetaFPV PAVO PICO, and you will also gain an appreciation for how much better this thing is, or heck, maybe you'll look at them and go, you like it better.